have been talking about tariffs lately, but what are they and how do they affect you? Tariffs are taxes placed by the government on goods that are imported or exported. In other words, they're an extra payment that needs to be made to bring stuff into the country or to ship it out of the country. The idea behind tariffs is to make goods that are made here in our country more appealing to consumers. That's you. So for example, if this cute capybara pencil was made in the United States and sold for $5, but this cute capybara pencil was made in another country and sold for $4, you'd probably buy this pencil, right? But if there's a 25% tariff in place, this $4 pencil now becomes $5, and more people are more likely to buy the US made one. If the passed on cost of the tariff is even higher and this pencil is now $6 while the US made one is now $5, people will definitely be more likely to buy the $5 one. Companies also encourage domestic manufacturing. Companies can avoid tariffs by not importing their goods and not exporting to countries that do have tariffs. Costs would then be reduced because the cost of the product does not have to include the cost of the tariff, and as an added bonus, more jobs can be created. However, there are a lot of downsides to tariffs. Some items are not made or found in the United States or produced in enough quantities to satisfy the demands of buyers. This results in a price increase because of supply and demand. If the supply is low, the demand is high and the prices are high. The cost to make products outside of the US is often lower than in the US, often because of labor costs. So even if the products are more expensive with the tariffs, they may still be cheaper than the products in the United States, so consumers will still buy them. So the buyers are still buying the same product, just at a higher rate. Also, it takes time and money to make plants and factories here in the US. There are a lot of upfront costs like building materials and the cost of labor. Those costs will likely be added to the price tag that the buyer pays. It's important to note that tariffs are usually paid by the company that receives the import. In the past, the company shipping the product often took on the payments themselves and lowered the price of the goods to ease the cost. However, in Trump's first administration and the Biden administration, cost of tariffs went directly to US firms and the final consumer, meaning you who bought it at the store. For example, in 2018 and 2019, there was a tariff passed on various goods from the European Union and China. The cost of the tariffs were pushed almost entirely to US buyers, resulting in a $16 billion a year net loss to the US economy. All right, so what are these new tariffs that are coming into place? Trump is implementing a 25% tariff on Mexico and Canada, as well as a 10% tariff on China. There is one exception for Canadian energy products, which will receive a 10% tariff instead of a 25% one. And also, if the parts were made in the United States but shipped to one of those three countries and assembled there, then shipped back to the United States, it will still be subject to the tariffs. So why is Trump doing this? Trump's argument is that China, Mexico, and Canada have failed to stem the influx of illegal aliens and drugs, including fentanyl. He says that China has allowed the chemicals that make fentanyl to go to drug cartels in Mexico. And as for Mexico, Trump has said that the government has made an alliance with drug cartels and has made it a safe haven for the transportation and use of narcotics. And lastly, as for Canada, Trump says that there is a growing presence of fentanyl creators coming out of that country. And this is why that's bullshit. The CDC states that overdoses are down 21% from June of 2023. There has been less than 90,000 deaths in a 12-month span for the first time in about 5 years. Canada has almost no involvement with the fentanyl creation. Only 43 pounds were seized in 2024 at the northern border, and Canadian law enforcement are already cracking down on fentanyl producers. And while drug cartels in Mexico do produce the vast majority of street fentanyl in the United States, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has increased enforcement against the cartels and is cooperating with U.S. law enforcement to further investigate these cartels. So fentanyl that has been seized at the southern border last year dropped by 20%, as well as the efficiency of the pills. And lastly, while a lot of chemicals used to make fentanyl comes into Mexico by way of Chinese industrial companies, Chinese officials implemented new regulations last year under pressure from the Biden administration to crack down on it. So what are these countries doing in response to these tariffs? Well, Canada has already announced a retaliatory tariff on goods like meat, eggs, milk, and so much more. As of the date of this recording, President Schonbaum has given Trump until Monday, February 3rd, to work together or there will be retaliatory measures. Schonbaum has also turned some of the fentanyl blame back onto the United States, criticizing that the United States has not done enough to crack down on illegal drug sales or on the sale of U.S.-made weapons to cartels. China is planning to file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization and enact necessary countermeasures. So, how does this affect you? All right, first off, basic goods are going to get a lot more expensive, especially produce. Home building materials will also get more expensive, which will impact the cost of new home builds, as well as slow down the rebuilding efforts in places affected by natural disasters. Vehicle, electronics, and certain alcohol prices will also likely go up. If you shop at Shein or Temu, those prices will likely go up as well. In the long run, this may result in a reduction of their workforce. If buyers buy less due to high prices or a business needs to eat the cost of a tariff and still want to make a profit margin, companies will need to reduce expenses. This means layoffs. We also don't know what China, Canada, and Mexico must do to satisfy Trump's war on fentanyl, so we don't know when these tariffs will be removed. History does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. The government did not learn from the Smoot-Hawley tariff, which I encourage you all to look into. If you stayed with me this whole time, I'm Medea Literacy, and I'm glad you're here.